الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. هيا على الصلاة هيا على الصلاة هيا على الفلاح هيا على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله النبي الكريم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ما شاء الله لا قوة إلا بالله يا حي يا قيوم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا مولانا وحبيبنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وأصحابه وعترته بعدد كل معلوم لك وبعدد خلقك ورضا نفسك وزنة عرشك ومداد كلماتك. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه يا حي يا قيوم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله. أما بعد، قال الله تعالى في كتابه العزيز: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله. This ayah from the Surah Al-Hashr, the translation of that ayah: O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah. The taqwa is Arabic word that's difficult to translate in one English word. You can say reverence of Allah or fear of Allah, but that does not really give it its due meaning. So the translation of the ayah again: O you believe, have taqwa of Allah, fear Allah, revere Allah. وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. And let the nafs of yourself, let yourselves look at what you have offered for tomorrow. Tomorrow meaning the day of judgment. وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ. And then ends again by saying وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ, and to even emphasize it over more, that have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The best translation, the best explanation of the meaning of taqwa was given by Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, when he said taqwa is like as if you are walking in a narrow corridor or tunnel with spikes and sticks and thorns sticking out of everywhere, and you're trying hard to navigate so that you don't get hurt by those thorns and sticks. This is a very nice explanation by Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu on what the meaning of taqwa is: to fear Allah and to have that fear of Allah reflecting on our actions, and to have the awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on our minds 24 hours a day, all the time, to consider everything that we're doing, any action we're doing, ask ourselves whether this is something that pleases Allah or displeases Allah, whether this is something that could bring Allah's wrath upon us or will give us Allah's rewards and pleasure with us. So this is the taqwa means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to this ayah, and he emphasizes it twice in the same ayah, and in between says, let your nafs, let yourself see what you have offered for tomorrow. What have I offered for tomorrow? This is when Allah gives something, it's in the form of a loving advice, but when Allah says do something in the Quran, it's a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a command, it's also a loving advice from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala it's telling us you should look at, on daily basis, periodically, consistently, all the time. Look at yourself. What am I offering? What am I offering for tomorrow? What I've offered so far, depending also on my age. Some people maybe in their 20s, 30s, 40s, Allah knows, when death comes, and nobody knows when it doesn't have no specific time. So according to Allah's written command, the book of destiny, we don't know, nobody knows. It can happen anytime. So Allah is telling us, look at what you are offering for tomorrow. Look what you have offered for tomorrow. For that tomorrow is the day of judgment. For when we present it before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to have this ability to self-assess our actions and what we are doing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us repeatedly throughout the whole Quran. So many ayahs. I never counted them, but there's so many ayahs in the Quran where Allah repeatedly tells us, watch out from the shaitan. Be careful of the shaitan. He is your sworn enemy. He is your enemy, and do not let him deceive you. He said, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. More than one ayah. Allah says, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌ مُبِينٌ. Do not follow the footsteps of the shaitan. He is your sworn enemy. And again, when we have an enemy, then we have to have a plan, a strategy, a defense. And whenever we have an enemy, we have to have a plan of defense. This is very common sense, simple thing. You have to have a defense against the enemy. So the enemy who does not attack, and if he attacks, you will be able to defend yourself. Simple as that. And we need to assess our behavior on daily life. Am I acting? Do I have something to defend myself? What is the most precious thing as a Muslim, as a believer? Of course, the most precious thing as a believer is my belief. But apart from the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is the most precious asset that I have? Tangible asset, not the belief that I have in my heart. What is the most tangible asset that I have as a Muslim, that I have to protect the most, and I have to defend the most? And this is the core of my religion, of my deen. What is that? We have to be very, as soon as that question is asked, we should know exactly the answer immediately. And if we don't know the answer, it means we lack knowledge. And as we know, once again, I'm sure most of us know the answer. The answer is our salah, because this is the fulcrum of our deen. This is imadud deen. So this is the most precious asset that I have, and this is the one that I have to protect the most and defend the most. Now the shaitan, before he gets to your iman and make you a kafir, he knows that he's not going to be attacking your iman right away. But he does, this is something well known, and this is something that's established, and we've seen examples of that many times, even in our lifetime, and books and everything. This is a fact that the shaitan will start with little things from the peripheries of your core. So he will go from the most distant thing, he will try to attack that gradually until he gets to the core, which is his ultimate goal, which is your salah. And eventually, once you give up your salah, once he undermines your salah, then the next thing is you're done. You're no longer a Muslim. So that's eventually his ultimate goal. So that's why because this is my most precious asset. This is the one thing that I have to protect the most and defend the most. You see that the U.S. Treasury, they have those reserves for the gold reserves for the federal government, that they have so much protection. They have so many vaults, so much guards, so many alarms, so many cameras, so much sophisticated protection system, because that's the most precious thing that they have. This thing, right? So nobody can come and even attempt to rob this gold from the Federal Reserve, from the government, right? And this is how you protect the most precious thing that you have, with so much protection. So I have to build a castle. In other words, I will build that's just like those, they built something like a castle. I have to build a castle to protect my most precious asset, which is salah. And that happens, and and I've mentioned that many times before, and it's always very important to emphasize. The best protection that I can give to my salah is doing it in jama'ah. Because when I go in jama'ah, if Rasulullah has told us, even when you're doing your salah in jama'ah and you don't have your shoulders touching, you're not tight in your lines in jama'ah, the shaitan, if you have spaces, the shaitan comes in between you, even when you're in jama'ah. So let alone you're not even jama'ah at all, where I'm doing it at home, then the shaitan is all over the place. So this is a clear indication from Rasulullah himself, from this hadith, that the shaitan his aim is to divide us and get in between us, and then to, like Rasulullah said, إِنَّمَا يَأْكُلُ الذِّئْبُ مِنَ الْغَنَمِ الْقَاسِيَةِ. This is a sahih hadith from Rasulullah. He said the example of how shaitan attacks us is like a wolf, because the wolf only gets from the herd of sheep, the one that strays. So when you stray from the herd of sheep, the shaitan, the wolf, that's the sheep that the wolf will attack and take away. And Rasulullah said this is an analogy of how shaitan will attack us when we stray from the jama'ah. And the most important part of the jama'ah is salatul jama'ah. Very, very clear. It was unthinkable to Rasulullah and the Sahaba to do their fard salah at home. Unthinkable. Never. No, not possible unless someone who is crippled completely can't even move. It was even reported that there were people who would be sick that be held on by two people on both sides so they can make it for salah. They still make it for salah. But anyway. So now this is one thing to have in mind. Again, remember the ayah, وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. Look at what you have offered for tomorrow. Because what is the thing that I offered for tomorrow that Allah will ask me the most about? Number one. Now this is something, all the consensus of all the scholars of the Mufassirin and of our deen, this is no difference of opinion. The first question I will be asked about the Day of Judgment as a Muslim is your salah. So this is why it is so important, this asset, so precious, so important, and it's worthy of so much protection. And there's no better protection. I can tell you that with 100% certainty. There is no better protection that you can build a castle around your salah than doing it in jama'ah. There is no better protection than that. This way, because when we struggle to do our salah, we want to make our salah presentable to Allah, acceptable. Don't we say, "Oh, Rabbana taqabbal minna," right? We all say, "Oh, Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka anta as-sami' al-alim wa tub alayna." Rabbana taqabbal. Don't always say, "Taqabbal Allah," may Allah accept, right? If I want my salah to be accepted and presentable to Allah, I have to make sure that it's presented to Him in the most presentable way. And the best and most presentable way, number one, is Salat al-Jama'ah. When I struggle, and we all, I including myself, we always struggle with focusing and having, khushu' tadabbur. Most of the times we get distracted. The shaitan, again, going back to the shaitan will come. There's a shaitan that is narrated by a hadith also from Rasulullah. His name is Khinzab. This shaitan, he has a name. His duty is to distract us during salah. So he will make you forget how many rak'ahs you've done. He will make you think of the dunya. He will completely distract you. You do your salah mechanically like a robot, and your mind and your heart is with the dunya and with other things, and that's his job. So when we struggle, and I'm hoping that all of us inshallah are struggling to focus, to make our salah more presentable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we work hard. Many times you catch yourself, 2 or 3 rak'ahs have passed away and your mind was somewhere else, and you feel you're going to have to salvage whatever's left of salah. So make it presentable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes you say salam and you don't even know what you have done. Unfortunately, this is the quality of our salah for a lot of us like that. But when we do it in jama'ah, the beautiful thing is about that, it will be far more acceptable. Even with the distraction, it is far more likely to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because even if one of the people who would do it, whether it's the imam or anyone who is behind the imam is a pious man whose salah is more accepted than others, then that will include all the salats of the people who are praying together at the same time will be rated at the same level of the one who is the most pious among them, whose salat is acceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is why it is such an important thing to protect our salah and be careful of the most precious asset that I have. Now, the interesting thing, my brothers, is have you ever thought that shaitan, Iblis, and all the shayateen believes in Allah? The shaitan believes in Allah. He does not deny Allah. We all know that, right? He even had a dialogue with Allah, didn't he? We know the dialogue in the Quran mentioned several times. Allah told him to make sajda to Adam, and he said no, and he said how could I make sajda to someone who is inferior to me, because fire is better than clay, whatever. That dialogue that happened. So he believes in Allah. He knows Allah is the Lord Rabbul Alameen. He has no problem, no doubt with that. And let me tell you something else. Shaitan fears Allah too. It's in the Quran. Shaitan probably fears Allah more than me and you. We know from Surah Al-Hashr, the same surah, the preceding ayah, كمثل الشيطان إذ قال الإنسان اكفر فلما كفر قال إني بريء منك إني أخاف الله رب العالمين. إني أخاف الله رب العالمين. This is what Shaitan says. He will tell the human to become a kafir, to deny Allah. And once he become kafir, he say, I disown you, I have nothing with you, I fear Allah. إني أخاف الله رب العالمين. This is what the Shaitan said. And another ayah also, فلما تراءت الفئتان نكص على عقبيه وقال إني بريء منكم إني أخاف الله والله شديد العقاب. Another ayah says, the Shaitan says the same thing when he promises the kuffar and the munafiqeen that he will back them up, he'll be with them, and they will be found, they will have the power, all that. And when they got into the middle of the battle, they were getting defeated, he said, I have nothing to do with you, I disown you, I fear Allah. Allah shadid al-iqab, his punishment is so severe. So Shaitan fears Allah too. And the one who does not care about his salah, or skips his salah, or does not give salah its due protection and importance, he doesn't fear Allah. The one who doesn't, brother, unfortunately, we have to face the sad fact is that most of the Muslims nowadays don't even do salah. There's more Muslims who do not do their salah on time or skip their salah than those who are consistent doing salah on time. And the one who is like that, he does not fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Shaitan fears Allah. So this is how degraded you get when we mess with our salah. One of the most serious ayahs that, to me, I am just a little humble person, but to me, I find that ayah the most serious ayah that gives me the most, that scares me the most. When Allah says, وَإِنَّهُ لَذِكْرٌ لَكَ وَلِقَوْمِكَ وَسَوْفَ تُسْأَلُونَ. He's talking to us, believers, Muslims. He's addressing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, this Quran, إِنَّهُ لَذِكْرٌ, a reminder for you and your people, your ummah, us, you and me. وَسَوْفَ تُسْأَلُونَ, and you will be questioned. Imagine, if Allah questioned me about one thing, one act of disobedience, what excuse do I have for disobeying the Lord of the universe who's given me life and rizq, and give me the air that I breathe, and give me the body that I see, and ears and heart, and rizq and everything. He made me from scratch, and my Lord and the Lord of all creation. What do I have? What excuse do I have for disobeying Him if He wants to ask me a question? And the one question, the number one question, without a doubt, will be the salah. So this is, my brothers, a reminder for us that we have to, when Allah said, do not follow the footsteps of the shaitan, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ, more than one ayah, do not follow the footsteps of the shaitan. We have to first understand what were the footsteps of the shaitan. The footsteps of the shaitan. He did not deny Allah. He wasn't a kafir. Shaitan wasn't a kafir, he's a believer. But he disobeyed the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was told to do sajda and he didn't. He was commanded to do sajda, he didn't. We are commanded to do salah, to bow down and sajda 5 times a day on time, and if we don't, we are worse, we're equal to the shaitan. We can't say, there's this common thing nowadays, the misguided Muslims, they say, well, it's all about, Islam is all about how you treat others, how your honesty and your being good and good conduct, and you deal with people, you don't lie, you don't cheat, and this is what Islam is all about, to marginalize the salah, right? And we even hear another argument, they say, well, how could people, Christians or Jews or non-believers who have good conduct, who have offered so much for humanity, have made inventions, have surgeons who have healed so many people, discovered medicines, invented this and that, good people, benefited humanity. How could those go to hellfire? Because now what happens, those misguided people, they use their own logic, their common sense, instead of what Allah has told us. Who tells us which crime is the worst crime among all crimes? It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the one who made the laws. Like right now, the law of you and the man-made law, if you do commit a crime of a certain magnitude, a murder or whatever, it gets more punishment than if you steal. There's a whole different levels of crimes, and each one is graded according to its severity. You get a certain punishment for it. But this is a man-made law. When Allah is the one who made the laws of everything that exists, tells us, according to, as far as He's concerned, the maker of all the law, He tells us the worst crime is shirk. We know that. It's in the Quran. We all know that. The worst crime is shirk. So if somebody is good and nice and good conduct and benefit to humanity, discovered and medicine, healed people and give charity, but he's a mushrik, Allah says in the Quran, وَقَدِمْنَا إِلَى مَا عَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. Allah was scattered like dust in the wind. All those deeds are useless to him. Same thing for a Muslim who maybe done good things, good conduct, maybe even Hajj and Sadaqah. When Salah is compromised, it's all the same thing, dust in the wind. Because that's what Allah says, that Allah is the one who makes the laws. Allah who makes the punishment that fits the crime, not you or me. It's not my. And when we say no, if you're a good conduct and you deal with people good and you're nice and do sadaqah, blah, you're better. When you don't do salah, you're fine. You're gonna go to Jannah. And we are defying Allah's, and we are contradicting what Allah has said. So we have to be very careful with this argument when we hear it. We don't, we go. Allah is the one who makes the laws, and He tells us which is the worst crime and what's the punishment that fits the crime. And Allah said, Allah is fair. Inna Allah la yadlimu mithqala dharra. He does not inflict an atom worth of injustice ever. We have to be clear on that, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه فيفز المستغفرين. أستغفر الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله كما ينبغي لجلال وجهه وعظيم سلطانه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد، فيا عباد الله اتقوا الله تعالى ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون، واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا، واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، واحذروا بدع المحدثات فإن شر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. اعلموا أن الله سبحانه وتعالى أمركم بأمر بدأ فيه بنفسه، فقال سبحانه وتعالى: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على عبدك ورسولك سيدنا محمد البشير النذير والسراج المنير، وارض اللهم عن الأربعة الخلفاء الراشدين أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي، وعن بقية الصحابة وعن التابعين وتابعي التابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين، وعنا معهم بعفوك وكرمك وجودك وإحسانك يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا واخطأنا، ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا، ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به، واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا، أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقم الصلاة. Please make straight lines, make sure there's no gaps in between, toes right behind the line. Complete that. If you see a gap in the front line ahead of you, make sure you complete it. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألم تر إلى الذين نافقوا يقولون لإخوانهم الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب لئن أخرجتم لنخرجن معكم ولا نطيع فيكم أحدا أبدا ولئن قوتلتم لننصرنكم والله يشهد إنهم لكاذبون لئن أخرجوا لا يخرجون معهم ولئن قوتلوا لا ينصرونهم ولئن نصروهم ليولن الأدبار ثم لا ينصرون لأنتم أشد رهبة في قلوبهم من الله لا يقاتلونكم جميعا إلا في قرى محصنة أو من وراء جدر بأسهم بينهم شديد تحسبهم جميعا وقلوبهم شتى ذلك بأنهم قوم لا يفقهون كمثل الذين من قبلهم قريبا لا يقاتلونكم جميعا إلا في قرى محصنة أو من وراء جدر بأسهم بينهم شديد تحسبهم جميعا وقلوبهم شتى ذلك بأنهم قوم لا يفقهون لأنتم أشد رهبة في صدورهم من الله ذلك بأنهم قوم لا يفقهون لا يقاتلونكم جميعا إلا في قرى محصنة أو من وراء جدر بأسهم بينهم شديد تحسبهم جميعا وقلوبهم شتى ذلك بأنهم قوم لا يعقلون كمثل الذين من قبلهم قريبا ذاقوا وبال أمرهم ولهم عذاب أليم كمثل الشيطان إذ قال للإنسان اكفر فلما كفر قال إني بريء منك إني أخاف الله رب العالمين فكان عاقبتهما أنهما في النار خالدين فيها وذلك جزاء الظالمين الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة أصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات السلام عليك يا النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا وقنا عذاب القبر ومن أفتنا ومن أفتنا ما أدعو من شرفنا المسيح الدجال ربنا لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله النبي الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما شاء الله لا قوة إلا بالله يا حي يا قيوم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا مولانا وحبيبنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وأصحابه وعترته بعدد كل معلوم لك وبعدد خلقك ورضا نفسك وزنة عرشك ومداد كلماتك أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه يا حي يا قيوم اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك ولا تجعلنا من الغافلين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما اللهم إنا نسألك اليقين والعفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذ من نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله اللهم أصلح أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم ارحم أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم اغفر لأمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم فرج عن أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. تقبل الله جزاك الله خير والحمد لله الحمد لله شيء بسيط الحمد لله جزاك الله خير.